The woman suddenly discovered in horror that her colleague's online boyfriend was actually her own married husband. At first, she thought she was mistaken, especially when she saw him falsely claiming to be single and childless. Katya could no longer hold herself back, but when she got home, she dared not confront her husband directly. Instead, she secretly set up a dating profile, posing as a cool beauty to attract her husband, but not to retaliate against him. Unexpectedly, her husband was captivated by her at first sight. That night, we ended up talking all night long. I thought she was the most considerate woman in the world. I even couldn't help complaining about my wife. After marriage, she's just like a washing machine, vacuum cleaner, and various other appliances. Anyway, she just doesn't seem like a woman at all. Knowing her husband's true feelings about her, Katya was very upset about her 16 years of dedication. Every day, she strived to handle all household chores and take care of him and the children. It had reached the point where if she didn't cook, the whole family would be starving. She goes barefaced every day and even refrains from buying herself a dress. Her husband finds her boring. He's even too lazy to wait a couple more seconds to drop her off at work, but to avoid getting caught, she reluctantly agrees with him. This makes the man even happier and he suggests they meet. However, she chooses to go offline at this moment. Not receiving a response from his goddess causes the man to lose sleep all night. The next day, Katya decides she's done indulging her husband. Announces from now on, if anyone wants cereal for breakfast, they can pour it themselves, and they can wash their own dishes after eating. Once the children finish playing, they should tidy up the toys. Upon hearing this, both children simply stopped eating. Meanwhile, her husband looked confused and asked what was wrong today. She calmly said nothing was wrong. It's just that the house needed some changes. So, with no other option, he had to clean up the dishes himself, but he didn't know where to start. After much struggle, he managed to load the dishwasher, only to mistakenly set it for an excessively long 2-hour wash. Katya told him to wait and deal with the consequences himself. Now she takes a cab to work and doesn't need him to drive her. Even she, who used to be almost invisible at work, has started trying to annoy unprofessional colleagues. The boss was stunned by her. After work, she went to the gym for the first time, using the money she would usually spend on gifts for her husband, to hire a personal trainer. Though this new life is joyful, she still loves her husband and doesn't want to leave him. She tries to communicate with him to mend their relationship. Her husband claimed to be too busy with work to refuse, but then he'd go online to chat on messaging apps. Helplessly, Katya had no choice but to keep pretending to be a goddess. Surprisingly, this time her husband openly confessed his feelings to her, saying she was much better than his wife, the shrew. He even suggested taking her to New York for a trip. This was too much for her to handle, because he always talked about taking her to New York, but it was always just talk. Yet, she still had to return to her husband's side and share a bed with him. And the next day, her husband acted as if nothing had happened. Katya tentatively asked him, "Isn't there something you want to confess?" But he thought she was just looking for a reason to argue. The husband didn't dare to speak anymore, so she simply took the children and went back to her parents' home in the countryside. She wanted her children to enjoy the beautiful scenery with her, but the two of them were used to ignoring her. Katya threw both of their phones out of the window in frustration. Their son was instantly furious. She said Daddy definitely won't let her off the hook. The daughter replied, "Dad is so unfortunate to have married you." Then, the siblings ran off to sit across from each other. While Katya originally thought her mom would be happy to see her, but she blamed herself for abruptly returning to her parents' home, accusing her of being irresponsible towards her children and husband. Despite her explanation that she couldn't stand her husband and needed some peace, in her mother's eyes, this was unacceptable. The mother and daughter then gave each other the cold shoulder all night. The very next morning, her husband suddenly showed up. Insisting on driving, he picked up his wife and their 2 children to take them home. Katya had no choice but to go with him, thinking that her husband finally remembered her good qualities. Little did she know, he had already confessed to his close friend that he wanted to divorce her and marry a woman he met online. His friend double-checked, asking if he was serious. After all, they had been married for over a decade. Back then, they were quite affectionate, but the man had made up his mind. Soon after, he sent the online woman an invitation to dinner. Katya felt it was time to meet, so she wore contact lenses for the first time instead of glasses, and asked someone to coach her on how to improve her posture and walk. To ensure her husband wouldn't recognize her, she specifically chose a dark dining restaurant. Though her face was unseen, her husband was already enchanted by her scent, and after finishing a glass of red wine, Katya sealed the deal with a kiss that made him completely fall for her. No woman had ever treated him quite like this before. He couldn't wait to invite her to a hotel, but got no response even after a long wait, until a waiter reminded him that she had already left. It was only then that he reluctantly headed home. Meanwhile, Katya had returned home earlier, and asked where he had been. True to form, her husband claimed he was at a business meeting. About the fragrance on him, he brushed it off with a few casual remarks. Katya felt extremely discontented, wondering why her husband has become so indifferent over the years. What exactly went wrong between us? But he silently walked away, preferring to chat with online female friends, holding onto his computer. Katya had no choice but to revert back to being an internet goddess, hoping to catch her husband's attention, but he wouldn't even turn his head to look at her. In the end, only their son happened to catch a glimpse of her as he walked by. In order to get one more look from her husband, she had to initiate a meet-up with him. When the man rushed over and caught a glimpse of the goddess' slender and graceful figure, he didn't even realize it was his wife. His heart raced and his breath almost stopped. What he didn't expect was her heading straight for the hotel. But the next day, before he could react, Katya quickly left. She felt sad that she had to pretend to be someone else. Once home, she angrily unplugged the drain. Unable to hold back, she started to vent when her husband returned. "I don't want to continue with you anymore." That's exactly what her husband hoped for. It's better to just get divorced sooner rather than later. She couldn't believe her ears. She ran to the street and cried bitterly. Out of spite, she agreed to a date with a colleague who had a crush on her, but she disguised herself as a mysterious woman, and deliberately revealed her whereabouts to her husband beforehand. When her husband saw his dream woman with another man, he immediately got jealous, thinking she didn't want him anymore. Katya returned home early again, but as soon as she arrived, her fitness trainer came to confess his love. While she was trying to reject him, her husband arrived, drunk. Seeing this, he misunderstood and thought she had someone else. The next morning, he started packing his bags to leave home. He wouldn't even listen to Katya's explanations. Unable to bear not seeing her husband, she had no choice but to continue playing the role of a female online friend, saying he was jealous like a little boy. But she needs a mature man. Her husband immediately realized it was his fault. Not only did he apologize at once, he also rented an apartment for her to stay in. This time she outright removed her mask, but her husband was too afraid to look, fearing he might say the wrong thing and she would leave him again. He even proposed with his back to her, and confidently said that his current wife would surely agree. At this point, Katya was really disappointed in him. 16 years of marriage, and it could just end like that. Katya rushed to the restroom alone and cried bitterly. The man thought he had upset her again. He said he would wait for her forever. She emerged wearing her mask like a queen. The slap was for his wife, but the kiss that followed was for herself. The next day, Katya had transformed from head to toe. She was dressed so elegantly that no one recognized her. Her husband was shocked when he saw her at the office. However, as soon as she spoke, she asked for a divorce, because she was certain he had someone else. At first, the man refused to admit it. Then, out of nowhere, she claimed she was pregnant. The husband burst into laughter, thinking she was trying to trap him with a child. However, Katya told him that the child wasn't his. His face changed instantly. He asked seriously, "Whose is it then?" But she deliberately didn't tell. Watching as the man started to get angry, she only left satisfied when she urged him to divorce quickly. That very night, she officially moved in with him under the guise of an online female friend. This left him so thrilled that he couldn't sleep well for several nights. Soon after, he found out that this woman neither cooked nor did laundry. She herself only drank a vegetable and fruit juice every day. She would also engage him in discussions about various arts that he couldn't comprehend, and participate in bizarre rituals. But all he wanted was a simple, down-to-earth life. Quickly, he grew tired of this woman. But Katya's days were completely the opposite. Because her boss gradually noticed her graceful appearance, he directly shifted her from being a behind-the-scenes planner to an anchor. Unexpectedly, the show's ratings skyrocketed. She was promptly promoted and given a raise. That day, Katya asked a man to come out and spend some time with the kids, and to her surprise, he quickly seized the opportunity to escape, only then realizing how wonderful his wife was. He even started to believe that her children must be his own. "Let's make up." But Katya didn't reply immediately. She disguised herself as her female online friend and secretly met him in the evening. The man was terrified his wife might find out about his disgraceful actions. He bluntly expressed his desire to break up with her. "I'm fed up with your nonsensical pursuits." Unexpectedly, the female friend did not cling to him at all. She simply asked for a farewell kiss. But just as he was about to lean in, their son suddenly asked, "Mom, Dad, what are you doing?" The woman tried to send her son away but accidentally called him by his name, which immediately made the man suspicious. "How do you know my son's name?" Katya decides not to pretend anymore. She takes off her hat and sunglasses and reveals herself as his wife. The man is so scared that he steps back and falls to the ground. He repeatedly confirms her identity. Katya states that she is the same person, both outside and at home. The bewildered man takes a long time to accept the reality in front of him. He slowly asks if Katya would still marry him. Katya reminds him that we aren't divorced yet. This reassures him that his wife is still willing to accept him, but he couldn't accept that he left because of his wife. He had done many foolish things and felt undeserving, so Katya comforted him by saying the child she was carrying was his. The man was instantly overjoyed. He was going to be a father again. Ultimately, Katya decided to forgive him, and they continued living together with their 3 children.